Hello everybody, David R. Becker here with BeckerArt, and in today's newsletter I want to talk to you a little bit about composing your photographs into one color. This is a way for beginners to understand about the composition of lights and darks and a big pattern in your paintings, and so it makes it easier to paint watercolors. So if you look at this image below here, onto the side actually, you'll see a lot of things in here, a lot of stuff. And if you drew it out, even if you drew every little piece out and you paint it like this with all these lights and darks all over the place, it would not be a great composition, because where's the background, how things are overlapping, and the composition between the lights and dark pattern are not that great. If I make it black and white, you can see more about that. And so here, I always turn all my images black and white. So if you look at it now, it's still the same thing is happening. You have so many lights and darks all over the place. And so to paint big areas of light and dark, it's impossible. And so you'd be painting all these little images, all these little pieces you would be painting. And that's not something you want to do with watercolor. You want to do big, beautiful washes. Even though we were just doing one color study this week with one color, you can use like a dark blue, and I can add black and white to it, but it would be hard to paint this and make it look compositionally correct, right? And so if you go to this image here, this is another one that I would never use, again, because you have colors all over the place. And if the colors were a little bit more organized, where there would be lights and darks, and let me just show you the pattern of this. Even here, it's like I see a pattern of dark throughout this area right here. But that doesn't make for a great composition, because you need to have a center of interest, and the center of interest on this one are usually in the thirds. But here's my center of interest right back here. People usually make a good center of interest, a light and dark pattern where the lightest light and darkest darker in that area. So you have your center of interest in this upper left-hand corner here, and that would not be a great composition. And also, how would you paint every little piece here, lights and darks? So there's no big area you make really dark and light and to make it work for you. So we keep on going here, and so now we have another image here. And so if you look at this one, you can almost tell automatically that this is a much better composition because of the lights and darks. And I don't have to even turn this one black and white to see that. But if I do turn it black and white, you can see that it's really, really going to be easy to paint, even though there's all this stuff happening in there. You see all this stuff over here and over here, a lot of people in this area. But by having that being all one value, you can paint it all together as in one. So even if it was colored and there was different colors in there, I would use the value of the colors and make this all one area that I would paint together. And so that's why you want to make your composition of lights and darks be large areas of light and dark, instead of having it all over the place. And so we keep on going. And so this is the picture we're going to be painting this Thursday. And so this is the painting that we'll be doing. And so if you look at it in color, you know, the colors are kind of like off. I don't know if I'm going to use certain colors, but that's how I want you to turn your photographs into black and white, because then you can see if it's the colors that you, or if the value pattern is what you want. And if you look at this, look at how nice this pattern is here. We have this dark through here, all the way through. So I can actually paint this dark all the way through there. You know, I can paint all that dark all the way through it and not have to stop and do little pieces of things. Yes, you do kind of do pieces of things, but when you use your lights, I can go right into this light area. When I'm doing this awning, depending on what color this awning is going to be and what the color building is, I'm going to take it into the dark area. And by having it into the dark area, I come back on top of that. And so maybe this light of the people can be the color of some of the lights in the dark area, you know, or the light area. I mean, the color is going to be something of the light, and so that can be right in there. So it makes it a lot easier to paint when you have a big areas of light and dark. And let me just show you one more thing, just to identify the shape again. So again, let's start out with this one in the beginning, which was not a good composition. Now, you can take your photographs and then change them. And I always ask all my students to change them to black and white. And why? Because then you can see the value pattern, right? And so now this value pattern is not very good. There's not much value pattern in it. There's a lot of change of value pattern. There's a lot of lights and a lot of darks, but they're all over the place. And so how can I change this? So you do a value study, or if you have good use of Photoshop and you know how to use like a Photoshop program, an editing program, you could do it on there. But I suggest you do a lot of times a value study, a short little study to show you what you could do to make this a better image. And so how could I do it? Watch this. And so there, I made the whole background dark, and I kind of pushed her back. And it doesn't have to be exactly like this, but just to show you a point of how I could make this an image that you could actually paint. So now, by having all this dark back here, yes, it's in the dark, and it probably wouldn't be like that exactly, but this is just to explain. Now I could paint this, and I could make it look like he is the center of interest, he is the light area, and so if you could look as him being the light area, and also when I'm doing my first wash of light, I could make all this area here that I'm pointing at, all that area could be the light area, and can all be done with one wash. You don't have to go and do pieces. I'll do the darks later, the detailed darks, to identify the shapes of things in there. But this is all dark, all light, and then this whole background is all dark. And so I can do that after I get this done. I can go back and do my big area of dark in there. And so now it's possible to do this painting. And it also would be possible to do it when you see it like this, but it would just be too hard, and the composition is not that great. And so now everything is fighting each other when it comes to what is the most important part. By making a big area of value pattern, it makes it so that you can then identify the shape of like your center of interest. This is definitely center of interest now, right? I mean, you're looking right at it, and it's the first thing you see. You have a dark around it. And then, yes, it may not be the way the image is when you took it, the photograph, but it is for a painter to make it so that it is possible to paint it. And this would make a great painting then. I could probably push her up a little bit, and I can have some of this a little bit out of focus, and that's another thing you can do, out of focus things. But when it comes to watercolor, and actually any other kind of painting, you want to make a good value pattern before you even think about the colors and stuff. That's number one. And actually, that's what I was taught when I was in school, is to first do a value study and make sure that your value pattern is correct. And so now we can do this even in one color. And for the students who are fresh and beginning, I want you to use just one color, because then you'll understand why I want you to use just black and white of the image. I don't want you to think about color at first. And as a beginner watercolorist, or any kind of student in art, is you have to look for the big lights and darks. And I'm going to show you how to use the medium by just using one color, so you don't have to worry about what color to pick up. And so that's usually what we had done in school. And when I went to school, we started with one color and just work out your value pattern. All right, and so until Thursday, which time we are going to be painting this image right here, we'll see you then, and get my newsletter, and you will have this image for you, or go on my website at BeckerArt.net and pick it up there. And another thing I want to explain to you too is I've had a lot of questions lately about people, what do I paint? And, can you look at my photographs and show me if this is a good photograph to paint? Well, first, let me tell you that change your photographs to black and white for one. Turn them black and white. And they can have grayscale, but I just need to see the black and white of it, because that shows me the big pattern of light and dark, right? And then post them on my Facebook group, which is called BeckerArt Group on Facebook, and we can look at them. And all the other people can also see them that are in the group, and we can discuss how to, pick a good photograph out, and pick a photograph that has a good composition of light and dark, because that's more important than anything, is a light and dark pattern. And as you saw, I can change it. You can change it, but for beginners, I don't want you to work that hard. That's too much to try to go out with at first. So composition is pretty good right here. And again, use your tracing paper to trace it if you can't draw it. But this is what we'll be painting this Thursday night, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.